Well, 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 it's been a busy few days. You'll be glad to hear our rudder is now perfect. Why am I doing the inverted commas? Because we won't know for sure until we've been in the water, soaked for a couple of weeks, and then another test will be when there are 35 degrees outside, because water absorption and temperature differentials will very, very slightly change the dimensions that we've got here. Because as the bush or bushes expand, they have nowhere to go because they're constrained within the dimensions of the tubes and bush holders that they're in. They can only go inwards, so they go inwards towards the shaft and they constrict very, very slightly. However, from what I can guesstimate stroke calculate, this is now perfect. We've got a tiny little bit of movement there. That's me breaking the pallet that I'm standing on. We've got a tiny little bit of movement there, and that's what we want. We want a tiny bit of movement so that it stays free with the water absorption and change in temperature, but we don't want excess play in there. So I'm really, really happy with that. There we are. That's turning the rudder and the steering and the autopilot, which are all connected now. That is all done and dusted and put to bed. It was also very interesting to see how these bushes are made. The shop that I went to there, really good guys, very, very precise. They've got loads of experience. Clive, the guy who made these bushes, he has 55 years of experience doing this. So you can't ask for more than that, can you? Somebody asked how much it cost. It was £30 an hour. So very, very fair, really super precise. And so in total it cost £60 for the two bushes to be made up initially, and then because I specified the wrong sizes, they made up a third one, and that was another £30, so £90 in total. So it's well worth every single penny, and I'm very happy that this whole job went the way it went in the end. The grand old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, then he marched them down again. And when they were up, they were up. And when they were down, they were down. And when they were only halfway up, they were neither up nor down. Good morning. Well, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Kent, and the refit continues. I've got lots of jobs to do today. There's a lot of them inside the boat, but right now it's not convenient with Emma and Rossella doing their things in there, so I've come outside to do some things outside. This boat has in-mast mainsail furling, and there are various pros and cons to that. Basically, once it's set up correctly and up and running and I know what I'm doing, then it should be really, really good. You can basically single-hand the boat very easily, and that's great for us because although Rossella and Emma may be on board, I'm basically single-handing a lot of the time anyway because they're otherwise occupied. After we bought the boat, I started to play with the sails. The head sail is fine, needs a new UV strip, but the sail is great. The mainsail has a little bit of UV damage because the clue was sticking out the back of the mast and it had been left there for years. So that could do with a little bit of repair work, which will be probably the subject of future videos or a future video. But the mainsail was jammed. It wasn't put away correctly, it was jammed. It was a bit of a pain to get it out, which of course is one of the negatives of in-mast furling. If it gets stuck, it can be a pain if you're out at sea. So I have to get my head around how to get this working perfectly without ever getting stuck. So I've downloaded the manual, Selden Mast in-mast furling PDF manual, which I'll link to in the description of this video. And part of that is the tension on the luff should be such that when I move this, I'm pulling the extrusion there. You shouldn't hear that clunking because it should be tight enough to stop the extrusion hitting the insides of the mast. So I'm about to adjust the tension on that, and to do that I have to remove the screw that's in there or loosen it, and then that should allow this locking collar to slide upwards, and then I can rotate something and then I can adjust the tension. Emma and Rossella are going to go for a walk together, which is nice. We've been cooped up in the boat again. Well, they have more than I have. And yeah, they're going to go out and enjoy the sunshine for a while. Hello.
Hello.
Hiya. Are you ready to go for a walk? You're going exploring with Mummy. While Rossella and Emma are out for their walk, I've got the unenviable task of cleaning our bilges. They are disgusting, especially the one near the engine. They're really not nice at all. But that's about to change soon. So why am I cleaning out the bilges? Well, we're going in the water soon. I have replaced every single under the waterline skin fitting and through-hull assembly. So any of those could leak. Hopefully none of them will, but they could. I've worked on the sail drive diaphragm, I've replaced that. So that's a big hole, and if that seal leaks then water will come into the boat. And I have been working on the rudder, so again, if I've made a mess of that, then water could enter the boat. So I'm hoping that there will be no water coming into the boat when we launch, but I will be checking very carefully, and we'll monitor the bilges to make sure that there's no water coming in. Then if there is, we can use the nice clean bilges with no water in there to trace where it's coming from. We can see where there's more water, we can see streaks where the water's coming from if some does come, etc. So that's why I'm doing it. Now I have a secret weapon to clean these easily. It's a vacuum cleaner, a Hoover. So if anybody is in the UK watching this, then you can buy these at Screwfix. It is the best Hoover I've ever owned. I've bought one before while working on a property, doing up a property, and they're amazing. They collect dust. They've got bags, so they collect dust really, really well, and you can remove the bag and then suck up liquids. So that's what I'm about to do now. If I remember correctly, they're about £35, so pretty reasonable. Here it is, and this is it in its normal vacuum cleaner mode. So if I turn it on, it acts as a Hoover, of course. It's also got an attachment point around the other side. So if you want to blow your hair up into a crazy mess, you can do. That is actually handy. You might not realise the need for that, but once you've got it, you actually find a few uses for that, so it's pretty handy to have too. So if I remove this, this is just an empty container. It's got a float switch in there as well, so once it starts to get full it turns itself off, and I can now suck up all the really disgusting goo that's in our bilges. Here we are then. This is the engine bilge. You can see there's a few inches of stuff here, not very nice at all. Water, oil, and some big lumps and lots of little particles of the old engine soundproofing insulation that was fitted, that was just falling off. So pretty disgusting. The new stuff, I fitted that recently, very happy with that, and I'm hoping it's going to be quite quiet when the engine's running with all the hatches closed. I think it will, it looks like good stuff. So let's get hoovering. Well, that didn't take long. That was the float switch activating. The Hoover is full. Well, that's quite painless. I've obviously not finished yet. It's going to take a lot more time to go around all the bilges of the boat, but you can see that it gets it quite clean. It also lifts, it's not just the liquid, but also the gunk. It can suck out the gunk from the nooks and crannies, so it's really quite a good way of doing this. And this Hoover is 1100 watts, so it's not particularly oversized, and we can actually run it off our inverter. keel bolt like this doesn't concern me. That looks in great condition from the head. However, down in there is another one, and what I can see of it doesn't look quite so good, so I'll just suck out the water and we'll have a look at that. Well, I'm very pleasantly surprised at that. I was expecting those to be quite badly corroded, but they're not. They look great. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are great all the way down into the iron keel, because there may be crevice corrosion taking place. I hope not, but they do look great from here. I am going to pull 2 or 3 bolts from the keel and inspect them and see if there is any wastage or crevice corrosion on any part of them. Here are the forwardmost bolts. This boat has quite a clever design. It has a stepped join between the keel and the boat. It's quite a nice design, so if this did hit, it wouldn't be the bolts taking all the force, it would be shared with the laminate itself. Let's give these a hoover now and see what they look like. Well, I'm very happy with those. It's a tiny amount of surface corrosion, but stainless steel does corrode, you know, extraordinarily slowly, but it does corrode. And yes, I'm very happy with this. I will pull 2 bolts tomorrow just to be super sure, but visibly these are very good. I'm very happy with them. Crevice corrosion occurs where there is no oxygen, so you could have bolts that look okay here, and that doesn't rule out crevice corrosion further down. Perhaps, probably the most likely point would be the keel to hull joint amongst the sealant there. If any seawater had got in and become stagnant and there was no oxygen, there could be a wasted area that's been corroded by crevice corrosion. But looking at them, I don't think, and I sincerely hope, that that's going to be the case here. So, excellent news. That has been an excellent day's work. It's not nice, is it? Having something that is not under your control, having parts of the boat there underneath water that isn't visible. It's just disconcerting. So having done that job, I now feel very relaxed. I've seen all the structure of the boat, the fiberglass in the lowest parts. I've seen the structure around the keel, and that was a pigeon in the tree doing some acrobatics. And yeah, I feel really satisfied with what I've seen today. It's very much like a car, isn't it? You need to get in and do things like this to really understand the boat. On a car, you can drive it every day and you might not notice a small dent. It's only when you go to clean it or polish it that you pick that up. So this is a similar thing. You only get to see the real detail when you're in and about cleaning and doing things. So I am feeling very satisfied. Rossella and Emma are currently in the V-berth. Rossella will be very glad that I've finished this because the boat's been a little bit upside down. And when you're living on board with a baby, that's not great. I'm very happy now, and I'm about to go and have a shower so that we can have our evening meal and hit the sack. By the way, if I haven't mentioned this in a previous video, we aren't doing daily vlogs anymore. You will have noticed we listened to you, we listened to what you said. The first couple of weeks here, we were working ridiculous hours. We were going to bed at like between 2 and 4:30 in the morning, waking up at 7, and then having a big day of work every day. So that obviously isn't sustainable. We listened to you, and you were saying, you know, take some time to spend family time together and things. So since we didn't make the splash date that we originally planned for, the 25th of April, we thought, well, let's slow down a little bit, take our time a little bit. So we're doing a video every few days now, and I'll keep you posted with our progress until we splash, but in the meantime we won't explode. So thank you to everybody who suggested that we do that. It was good advice. The Hoover's about to have a bath as well.